Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. This is Tatsuya YANASE from ADB. I am a fund manager of JFJCM, Japan Fund for the Joint Crediting Mechanism. First of all, on behalf of ADB, I'd like to convey sincere appreciation to all for giving us this great opportunity. So to start with, I'd like to share my presentation materials first. Okay, in my presentation today, I'd like to introduce JFJCM briefly as one of the JCM financial scheme through ADB. Okay, so before speaking on JFJCM, let me mention about ADB's Strategy 2030, which is ADB's long-term corporate strategy that sets ADB's course on how best to respond to Asia and Pacific's changing needs. ADB sets climate change as one of the 7 operational priorities. Under the Strategy 2030, originally we aimed to mobilize $80 billion in climate finance cumulatively from 2019 to 2030, but we have raised our ambition to achieve $100 billion in the same period. And also, ADB committed that at least 75% of its operations will support climate action by 2030. In addition, ADB's Strategy 2030 set ambitious targets for providing reliable energy access to all, together with the amplified calls for action on climate change. With this regard, we have released the new energy policy in October 2021, which gives more emphasis on promoting low carbon transition across the region. ADB updated its capital adequacy framework to expand its bank's annual new commitments capacity to more than $36 billion to unlock $100 billion in new funding capacity over the next decade. So this is the snapshot of ADB's carbon market program. ADB has been implementing its carbon market program more than 10 years for incentivizing investments in low carbon technologies in developing countries in Asia Pacific region. As you can see in the diagram, especially orange colored box, JFJCM is one pillar in the carbon market program as one of the trust fund. Okay, let me move on to the overview of JFJCM. The JFJCM was established in 2014 as one of ADB's trust funds contributed by government of Japan. The cumulative amount of their contribution is $118 million. JFJCM provides grant for adoption of advanced low carbon technologies in ADB financed projects that use JCM, Joint Crediting Mechanism. This time I will skip detailed explanation on JCM, but the amount of GHG reductions will be converted into carbon credit under the JCM process, which is the same as the other support schemes, as my colleagues explained earlier. And this is a requirement of our fund. And both sovereign and non-sovereign projects are eligible. Sovereign projects mean projects in which ADB lends to central governments or other entities with government guarantee. And non-sovereign projects means projects in which ADB lends to the private sector or other entities without government guarantee. So this is JFJCM eligibility. For investment projects, ADB developed member countries that have signed bilateral agreements on the JCM are eligible for JFJCM support, as listed in the second bullet point. Of course, Sri Lanka is one of the eligible countries. For technical assistance, In addition to the eligible DMCs, as I mentioned, those that have initiated discussions with the government of Japan for the JCM are also eligible. Eligible projects are those to be financed by ADB, and JFJCM can be provided as an additional financing to approved ADB projects too. Eligible technologies are advanced low-carbon technologies that reduce greenhouse gas emissions, including CO2 from energy sources. And the technologies must have a proven implementation and operation record of its technical effectiveness. So this is JFJCM support scheme. So upper side of this slide for sovereign project. For sovereign projects, JFJCM provides grant for incremental cost between advanced low-carbon technology and business as usual technology. Maximum amount of grant is 10% of total project cost, but capped to 10 million. When the total project cost is less than 50 million, 5 million is maximum amount of grant. For non-sovereign project, JFJCM provides grant by milestones to support deployment of advanced low-carbon technologies. Maximum amount of grant is 10% of total project cost, capped to 10 million. If the participant from the private sector consider using JFJCM, then you need to use ADB loan first. So this is the entry point for using JFJCM for non-sovereign project. So this is requirements for the JCM. After approval of the JFJCM funding, a borrower, in this case grant recipient, is required to meet JCM application requirements. For example, preparation and approval of JCM methodology, and preparation for project design documents, PDD, and validation by third-party entities, and registration of the project, and the phase of the operation, monitoring, reporting, and verification of GHG emission reduction, and assurance of the JCM credits and delivery to government. So borrower needs to engage consultant by using the JFJCM grant. At the same time, JFJCM Secretariat may help this process. So this shows the roles of key entities in JCM project, kind of a map of roles of key entities. You can see the center of this slide, Joint Committee. So this is a kind of governing body for JCM projects, in charge of the development, revision of rules and guidelines and methodologies, and also registration of the project. On both sides, there are both government, Japan, and the partner country, in this case, Sri Lanka's government. And you can see the green box. This is project participants in charge of the project implementation and monitoring. And the third-party entity, this is blue box, which is in charge of validation and verification. And we, ADB JFJCM Secretariat, is orange box outside of the map, provides financing and other support. So this is the approved JFJCM funded project at this moment. Currently, we have 8 projects approved. If we look at the countries, we have 3 projects from Maldives and 2 projects from Mongolia and Bangladesh and Indonesia and Palau. And if you look at the technology supported, for example, JFJCM support to introduce advanced battery and energy management system, energy efficient transmission lines, solar PV with advanced battery system and the EMS. And the first project is to introduce energy efficient HVAC system, high insulation window, rooftop solar PV, and ground source heat pump. And fifth project in Maldives is to introduce waste-to-energy plant and geothermal power plant in Indonesia, and advanced flow battery system in Maldives. And the eighth project in Palau is the financial intermediation project to support investment in low carbon technologies. And we have now cumulative JFJCM grant is 52 million US dollars. So this is my last slide to explain how you may be able to access JFJCM related project. For sovereign projects, project owners and grant recipients are usually public sector entities, such as central governments and state-owned enterprises. So therefore, the discussion happens between government and ADB. And since the project is done by the public entities, the procurement is made through a competitive bidding process. So if you are the government officials, you may talk to your government's focal point for ADB, or you could also talk to us directly to see what is the best approach for initiate the discussion. If you are the private sector entities, you may participate in the bid to be a contractor or subcontractor, such as for EPC, technology providers, and others. So if you are consultants, there are various opportunities across the project cycle, from the project development to the implementation. For non-sovereign projects, project owners are usually the private sector. Since the JFJCM support is only possible for ADB finance project, you need to discuss ADB loan with our private sector operations department, PSOD. So you may directly contact our resident mission office in Sri Lanka, or please contact us. Okay, this is the end of my presentation. Thank you very much for your kind attention. If you have any questions on JFJCM, or if you have any future ideas for the project, please contact us. Thank you very much.